Hey guys, it's Keena. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be discussing menstrual cramps. So today's Big Pharma versus Nature contender is the wildly understood Midol. So lots of people have used Midol or Pamprin when it's that time of the month and you have a lot of pain. Some women are lucky enough not to have very much pain, but most of us do. So this little purse pocket is usually something that a lot of women know. So we're gonna just go through what Midol has to offer and kind of see if there's something in nature that can help us as an alternative. So Midol claims to help with pain from cramps. It also claims to help with bloating. Let's see what else is here. Oh, and fatigue. So it's really interesting that they add fatigue as well. And let's see, the active ingredients are acetaminophen, which is the same active ingredient as Tylenol. So that's our pain relief, which is really what, for the most part, any of us are looking for a medication for, is to ease those cramps and be able to get through the day. Their second ingredient is caffeine. And I know some people are like, well, caffeine, and I think that's where they're coming from with the claim on being able to help fatigue. So I don't know that I would say caffeine necessarily helps fatigue. In reality, it is a short-term stimulant, so it gives you a little bit of boost of alertness, but sometimes there's a crash that happens behind that as well. But I'm assuming that's where they're coming from with that claim. And then also caffeine can act as a diuretic. So if you bloat up and get puffy, swollen, and have some water weight gain during your cycle, then that's why they're adding the caffeine as well. Now, what I find particularly interesting is their third active ingredient. It's an antihistamine, and it kind of makes you wonder, why would they put an antihistamine in, period medication? And it's called pyrilamine, and I find it kind of super interesting because I'm like, well, I don't know very many women that have allergic reactions or responses that require histamine control during their periods. But I believe that the claim is that pyrilamine can help with like nervous tension and apparently can reduce water retention as well. But they already have that caffeine in there, so it kind of just makes you wonder, like, why kind of pile on with more pharmaceutical medication for that purpose? But that is, their claim. They have it on here and it says antihistamine. But let me know in the comments, do you have any symptoms on your period, either the week prior or during, that you feel like antihistamines help? Like, do you have any itching or rashing, inflammation? And it could be trying to help with inflammation, I suppose, in the uterus itself. But I just wonder. So let me know in the comments, like, do you use Midol? And when you are on your cycle, is there like some type of response that you have that you're like, yes, I really do need those antihistamines? I'd be really curious to know what you guys may be using those for. So today's contenders on the nature side are going to be, actually I have three, and then kind of an honorable mention that I personally love, but they've got three, we've got three. We'll kind of keep it as fair as possible. Okay, so our first herb is going to be black cohosh. Now, black cohosh is loved by women who take herbs because it is antispasmodic, meaning that it'll calm or eliminate any cramping in the body. So, duh, right? It's also anti-menagogue. So that is specifically an active action that this medication, or not medication, this herb plays on the body to help with the flow of menstruation. So it's great for the uterus. It's great to, get your flow nice and easy and coming out for you in the way that you want, so there's not like a lot of clotting or anything like that. Black cohosh also is diuretic, so now we don't need that caffeine, and it's also a stimulant. So if you do have a little bit of fatigue and you're tired and you're just like out of it, black cohosh is a really good all around. As a matter of fact, black cohosh could be its own contender against Midol. Because like I said, it's antispasmodic, so it has that pain relieving relaxation. It is a diuretic, and it's also like it's a stimulant. So honestly, I'm gonna show you guys a bunch of herbs today that are good options to use either by themselves or together for menstrual cramps. But like this one alone could knock out Midol by itself. Now, you can hear it kind of jingling in here. Black Cohosh is a root, okay? And I think everything with the exception of Skullcap today that I'm gonna show you are gonna be roots or rhizomes. So with roots, they're gonna be a little different than some of the teas that I've talked about. You would do a decoction with, with roots, meaning that you would let them simmer in a pot for about 20 minutes as opposed to just pouring hot water over them like tea. And that's really the only difference. Now you can also make a tincture. You guys know I love tinctures. I'm always talking about them because they're quick and easy. You can keep the little 1 or 2 ounce dropper bottles in your purse or pocket or office or diaper bag or whatever. And they're really fast acting because you take them sublingually under the tongue. Now, if you hate the taste, because most of this stuff is pretty earthy, you can just take them in like a shot of pineapple juice or water the same way, but they will act faster, especially when you're in pain, if you just take the drops under the tongue. So like I said, you can make a tincture of the black cohosh, and that will be awesome as well. Now the next one I'm going to show you guys is wild yam. Whew, good one. Okay, so wild yam, again, another favorite of women. Now, wild yam is a very powerful antispasmodic, and like I said, that means that it calms, eases, or eliminates cramps in the body. So, you know, that's why you really want this. If you have really powerful cramps, not just kind of some that are a little uncomfortable, but they can be really debilitating, wild yam is your friend. It is also a diuretic. It is also stimulant. So remember, we're talking about these options that could just on their own just knock out the things that they're putting in the Midol, right? So it's all those things. I like it in particular because it's nervine, meaning that it calms the nervous system. In particular, I get nerve pain, that kind of pain that kind of starts in the hip and kind of digs down into the thigh, radiating from those uterine cramps. So this is particularly great for that. I also get nausea when I am on my cycle, and that is what this helps with too. Now, when I research wild yam, it doesn't necessarily consider itself an antiemetic, but it really does help with nausea. So it's great to have in a compound formula that you can add to that black cohosh or take all by itself, especially if you experience any like stomach discomfort and nausea when you're on your cycle. Now this, you can hear, is also a root. Like I said, we're going to be doing a lot of roots today. So this is also a root, so you do the same thing. You would have to be a decoction simmered for 20 minutes in a pot, and then you would just drink a cup of that as needed or 3 times a day, however you like to do that. Or you can make my favorite, a tincture. Tinctures are amazing. So yeah, this is a good one for that. Now the next one is going to be Skullcap, and that's going to be a leaf. Okay, so Skullcap, like I said, this one we're going to use the leaves of this particular plant. And Skullcap is great for like so many things, not even just cramps. It is antispasmodic, again, like we should know by now. That means that it either eases or eliminates cramps, which we want. I mean, we're talking about against Midol, which, you know, it doesn't really help any of the larger issues that you may have with your cycle or your hormones, but the cramps is why you really take it. So like, it's right on top of the list. Skullcap is antispasmodic. Now, Skullcap is also nervine. We talked about that, where it eases or calms the nervous system. If you have nerve pain, this is amazing. Now, I also get migraines. Now, I have migraines all the time, but I especially get them when my hormones are shifting. Skullcap is an amazing herb indicated for migraine. So when it's just one of those things that you have to kind of make your own formula sometimes when it comes to using herbs, like what really is your unique experience, not just like some random pill like we're talking about with the pyrilamine and the Midol. Like, I don't know anyone who needs that. Maybe someone does, but now you're just taking something and you're processing it through the liver, you know, unnecessarily, because you're like, I don't need that. So, you know, with this one, it's like, if you have, you want additional help, it's also great for like calming your nerves. It's a relaxant. Also, it can be a little anxiolytic that helps, which means help with anxiety. So if you have like anxiety specifically that comes up because you know you're going to be having difficult cramps or inability to sleep, it helps with that. It's great for insomnia. I know a lot of people get menstrual insomnia. So this is one that I would call like an add-on, right? Like I wouldn't necessarily take Skullcap. Now, if this is all you have, it's all you have. But I wouldn't just take this alone for menstrual cramps, just because there's other herbs that specifically will get in there and help you with that. But I believe it's a great supportive herb in a formula for your menstrual cramps. Now, I do have on my site a product called Cramp Stop, and it has these products in there. Like I make sure that I put all 3 of them, as a matter of fact, because I believe that they work really great in tandem. So I'll put something somewhere, and I definitely have a link in the description box so that you can see it. But if you want, but in its tincture form, the ones I talk about under the tongue or in, you know, a small amount of liquid, because when you're in pain, you need fast acting help, right? So that's kind of a biggie for me. Now, this is the last herb that I'm going to show you guys. Is honestly just like my personal favorite for menstrual cramps, I think, because it specifically helps me. And that's what I was saying about having unique formulations made for you, because it will help with probably anyone who has menstrual cramps. But like on a basic level, those 3 that we just discussed are amazing. You may not have additional symptoms that require this 4th herb, but I can't wait to show you guys. And that's going to be blue Cohash. Okay, so like I said, blue Cohosh. I love this one. It is another root. You can kind of hear it jingling in my jar here. Now, it is just like all the other 3, anti-spasmodic. We want to go straight to that, because the big issue that has us, you know, distracted and uncomfortable are the cramps. So anti-spasmodic, we got that check, okay? Blue Cohosh is also anti-inflammatory and estrogenic. So like for me, I specifically, when I have a period, have like this burning sensation in my uterus area. So it's not just like cramps and muscle fatigue, it's hot. I feel a heat inside. So having something that's anti-inflammatory, that's going to get in there and really it's demulcent as well. I know that's the new word on the channel, but that means that it's soothing. So it's going to soothe those tissues in the uterus and just stop all that kind of inflamed, burning feeling. And it also helps with low back and thigh pain. Like I said about the other ones, that like for me, I get, you know, radiating pain from the cramps. There's a nerve pain that goes into my thigh, and it's really uncomfortable coming out of the hip. And this specifically works for that. And as I mentioned, it's also estrogenic, and it just means that it's kind of estrogen modulating. So if you have too much estrogen or not enough estrogen, this is an herb that will help your body make the right amount. So whether it needs to ramp up or it needs to calm down, blue Cohosh is good for that, which is why it's also good for women in menopause, which is not really what we're talking about with menstrual cramps, but because it has that estrogenic property, it also is great for those women as well. Like I said, this is an herb, so you can hear jingle bells going on in there. And same thing, did I say herb? I meant a root. It's a root. So same thing, we gotta do a decoction. They're kind of dusty, I think is the word I would say. Like you can kind of see the dust in there. So I personally wouldn't want to do a decoction of blue Cohosh, because I just feel like it may come out muddy and just taste like, you know, dirt water, which you can totally do, and you can totally mix it with some honey or agave and just try to spruce it up. But honestly, I think as usual, I'm team tincture. I should get a t-shirt that says team tincture. But I'm team tincture, quick and easy, especially things that don't taste amazing, aren't naturally sweet or something like that. I'm team tincture. You have a tincture, you drop that under the tongue, and you're good to go. And then just a few common sense cautions, I would say. Obviously, do not take any of these herbs if you're pregnant. They're emmenagogues, meaning they make you bleed, or that they, you know, increase or strengthen the flow of your menstrual cycle. So we do not want anything that could induce uterine cramping or flushing in any way if we're pregnant. So just, I mean, I know that may seem like a ridiculous, like, duh, but just don't take any of those. If you're pregnant, definitely talk to your doctor if you're having some issues that maybe these herbs come up for any other time. Because like I said, you don't want to do that. Now with the blue cohosh in particular, if you have existing menorrhagia, which just means heavy flow, you may want to stay away from the blue cohosh. The other ones are fine, but blue can actually increase that flow. So if we're already bleeding heavily, you don't want something, even though it has all these amazing properties, you do not want something that's going to make you bleed a little bit heavier. Also, with the Skullcap, it's part of the Asteraceae family of plants. And a lot of people who have plant allergies will have them from the Asteraceae plant family. So that's just a little bit of caution to consider. It's really like if you're allergic to aspirin, typically that's in that same family. So you would probably already know. Like if you know that you're allergic to aspirin, just stay away from Asteraceae plants. And you probably have known that since childhood. So that's the thing with Skullcap that you just kind of want to stay away from. And that's pretty much it. But I just wanted to make some mentions. You know, responsible herb dosing, you know, is having to be aware of, you know, what contraindications or what cautions that you may need to take. And we just want to keep that in mind. As I've said with many of the other plants, also in high doses, many herbs, including the ones we've talked about here, can cause like some nausea and vomiting. Now we're not talking about using high doses, we're talking about 5 milliliters a dose, which is about a teaspoon, as needed for pain, okay? So nowhere near high dose, but we just want to make sure that we're not guzzling it or just, you know, chugging the bottle because we're in pain. Don't do that, okay? Just your teaspoon is, you know, as needed for pain. But other than that, that's pretty straightforward in terms of any cautions that you want to be aware of. Okay, so the final countdown, right? Big Pharma, sorry, today is Midol versus Nature, which this one is the black Cohash, which I said could knock it out in and of itself. But we also have blue Cohash, wild yam, and Skullcap. Now, I know everybody knows I'm partial. But like I said before, we gotta start making this a little harder on ourselves, right? You know, limited to no side effects, fast acting, easy to take, because I know that is really why we're such a pill focused society, right? It's because it's convenient, it's easy, and so you can keep that in your purse. And that's why I'm always advocating for tinctures, because you can keep those right on hand and you can take them just as quickly. And then if you drop it under the tongue, it doesn't even have to digest. Like, because at the end of the day, a pill of any kind has to go through the digestive system in order to start working in your body, which is why it can take a while when you take a pain medication. But if we can take that tincture directly under the tongue, now we're talking about 5 to maybe 15 minutes max before we start having the effects that we want, so we can have that relief. So I'm always advocating for tinctures. And I gotta say, guys, nature wins. Nature wins again. Surprise, surprise. Because like I said, this one, I'm telling you, just black Cohosh alone would knock Midol out of the race. And now we're talking about combining this wonderful herb with other herbs that have supportive or compound effects on your discomfort. And they're safe, right? They're safe. So, sorry. Sorry, Big Pharma. Who makes Midol? Bayer. Sorry, Bayer. Nature wins. Nature wins again. So I'll make sure, like I said, to show you guys, I do have my product over at cybernerds.com called Cramps that has these herbs in there. And shameless plug, I suppose. But I'm gonna make sure that I put the link in there for you guys so that you can see that that's something that you're interested in. I really want you guys to be able to have things that are easily accessible, effective, and that you can trust, right? So I'll make sure that I have that information for you. And I look forward so much to sharing more of these alternatives to pharmaceutical medications with you. Please let me know in the comments what other medications would you like to see compared and contrast, or what illnesses that you may want some information about in terms of a natural alternative, and I'll be really happy to do some digging and some research and find out for you. Please like and share and subscribe to the channel if this is content that you find valuable. I really do appreciate it, and I love bringing this information to you guys. So until next time, stay healthy, and I will see you soon. Bye guys.